Hello, welcome to the second video for our Redstone guide tutorials. And this one we're going to be talking about all the different power sources we can use to provide power to our redstone wires. So the very first one is the lever. Pretty straightforward. You turn it on, it provides power. You turn it off, it provides zero power. The important part here to remember is the lever always provides full power, all the distance to the wire as it can in the game. And the next one is the redstone torch. This also provides full power all the way to the end of its 15 square distance. And we'll be using a lot of redstone torches because one of their unique properties is that while they're always on, if you provide power into them using a repeater or a wire directly into them and you turn that power on, it turns off the redstone torch. So we'll be using this a lot because there's a lot of uses for different circuits and digital logic gates that will use this idea that if you provide power into it, it turns off. But if the power turns off from going into it, it turns itself back on. So it's very important that we'll be using that quite a bit. A block of redstone, it's always on, and there's no way to turn it off. It will always provide power regardless of whatever you're doing. One nice thing about it is that it provides power in all directions around it, above it, the sides of it, and below it. So when you're trying to set up, say, a ceiling light or something, blocks of redstone are very, very handy. The next way to provide power is actually to use a comparator. And a comparator has a lot of uses, and we'll be going over this later because there's just a ton of awesome, cool things you can do with comparators. But the important one to remember is that when you put it next to a chest or a hopper or some other thing that holds items, and you connect it like this, where the two redstone little torches parts are against the object, it will output power based on how full the chest is. So right now I'm only getting 2 squares of power because this chest is not very full. If I fill up the whole chest and add some more stuff to it, now I've got a lot more power. So comparators are going to be used a lot for things like auto sorters and special doors and some secret things, and you'll be using them a lot once you get used to using them. But right now it's a simple idea that, if you fill up a chest to a certain amount, you could trigger something to say, start emptying that chest, or put on a light saying, hey, this chest is full. Something like that to help people know what's going on. Alright, so again, back down to just 2 full stacks, you get 2 lines of power. The next one is the daylight sensor. So daylight sensor, it provides power when there's light. The important part to remember with the daylight sensor is that it provides a certain amount of power based on how much light there is. And so the way you know how much power there is that at noon, when the sun is at its highest point, the daylight sensor will provide exactly 15 squares of power, 15 blocks of power. And before and after that, it will provide less and less and less. And when you're at midnight, it will provide 0 power. This is really, really useful for certain things where you want to say, set up so your house's doors are open during the day, so it's easy to come in and out and do things. But at nighttime, to prevent any monsters from coming in, you set it up so they close because the daylight sensor is providing less power. All right. The next one is an ender chest. So ender chest, you might think that they would work just like this, where you can compare what's coming out and get some power, do anything. Ender chests are a bit special, and they do not work with comparators. They're their own completely separate item in the game, and they do not function with pretty much any redstone stuff. So just remind yourself that while ender chests are really, really cool and awesome things, they don't function with redstone. So you'll have to figure out something else to do if you're trying to use chests to provide power. The next one is the good old pressure plate. This pressure plate provides power. Much like a switch, as long as you're on it, it's providing full 15 blocks of power. If you step off, it's 0. So it's very binary. It's either on or off, and provides full power either on or off. And then the last object here is the tripwire. So tripwire, it will provide 2 paths of power when you step onto the wire. So you see, when I'm triggering the tripwire, both hooks provide power out for redstone, and they'll provide a full 15 power 15 blocks of power. And you can use it for separating, doing two different things. So this one would trigger something to happen, and then this one would trigger something else to happen, and they'd happen at the same time. So very, very useful if you're trying to do more than just one thing when somebody, say, steps on a pressure plate. Use a tripwire. It's harder to see, and you can do more things with it. If you put redstone here to connect to the wire, nothing will happen. The wire itself does not generate the power. It is the tripwire hooks that generate the power. Alright, so that's the most basic objects in this game to generate power. A button is also another object that will generate power, and it's exactly like a stepping stone, on or off, and you just put it here and it will power anything off the block there. So that is our guide to what can provide power for redstone devices. Alright, I will see you in the next video.